All right, welcome to Real Estate Hustlers podcast. I'm your host, Josh Appleman. Today we're joined with Rod Cleef. Rod is a real estate investor, best-selling author, and podcast host who turned a $50 million loss into a comeback, helping investors build lasting wealth and purpose. Rod, we appreciate you coming on the show today. If you could let the listeners know a little bit more about yourself.
Sure. Podcast host. Yes. Dutch immigrant. Immigrated this country when I was 6 years old. With my mother, Svancha, my brother Albert, ended up in Denver, Colorado. Didn't have much growing up. Ate expired food. Believe it or not, they had an expired food store. Drank powdered milk with our cereal in the morning because it was cheaper than real milk. And trust me, it sounds better than it is. And wore clothes from the Goodwill and the Salvation Army all the way through junior high school till I lied about my age and got a job at Burger King because you had to be 15 and I was 14 and tall, thank goodness, so I could buy my own clothes. But I'm sure you've got listeners had it harder than I did, but I knew I wanted more. And my mom had an incredible work ethic, so she babysat kids so we'd have enough money to eat. And with her babysitting money, she started investing in real estate. Well, the first real estate she bought was right across the street from us, a house from a family named the Jewels for $30,000 when I was about 14. When I was 17, she told me she'd made $20,000 in her sleep, that had gone up in value $20,000. Now, mind you, this is when $20,000 was a lot of money. And I'm like, what? You made 20 grand, you didn't do anything? Screw college, I'm getting into real estate. So I went out and got my real estate broker's license to sell real estate. You could become a broker through education back then. They got smart now to have your own office and be a broker. You have to have some experience. But I was a broker, and I was smart enough to go work for a broker. But my first year in real estate, I made about 8 grand. My second year, maybe 10 grand. But my third year, I made over $100,000. So what happened between year 2 and year 3 that caused me to 10x my income? Well, what happened was the broker I was working for taught me about the importance of mindset and psychology. How really 80 to 90% of your success in anything is your mindset and psychology. Only 10 to 20% is the real estate stuff we talk about here, Josh. It's the do and it's the keep doing. And I'm going to brag for a minute. Because I just found this out a week ago Wednesday that my coaching program, my Warriors, they now own. We're tracking 305,000 units under my tutelage, but it's probably closer to 350,000 because a lot of people don't reply to our requests for their counts. So 350,000 is more than everybody else that teaches this combined by a lot. So I had to brag about that because it's student success is what it's all about. I met that guy, and then he taught me about mindset. Fast forward to today, I've owned over 2,000 houses that I rented long term. In 2006, my net worth went up $17 million while I slept. But make note of the fact that was 2006. In 2008, like you said, I lost $50 million conservatively. And so what I'm known for talking about is the mindset it took to have $50 million to lose in the first place. And just as important was the mindset to recover from that. That's something I talk about a lot, but we can just talk real estate too, if you like, whatever you like.
No, it's all important because if you're an entrepreneur, you're going to hit moments in time where it's the true test of your character and whether or not you're going to be able to come back, or you're going to have to, you just can't, you work for the next guy. But those who do come back, that's what also creates wisdom, is those times of difficulty. And what not to do.
I call them seminars. I call them seminars. Like at my boot camps, I always ask the panelists, which are always my students, talk about a seminar, because I think you learn more from that than you do success. Everybody loves to talk about success. I like to talk about when you got your butt kicked and the lessons in that. That was a $50 million seminar. Now, it was an expensive freaking seminar. Don't get me wrong, but you don't fear that. We fail our way to success. I've built 30 businesses so far in my career. I was shocked when I counted. Several worth tens of millions of dollars. 2 right now are, but most were spectacular flaming seminars. Okay. Yeah. And if you're going to fear anything, fear regret. Fear being in the same place you are right now 2 or 3 years from now, unless you love where you are right now. That's what you want to fear. In fact, there was this nurse in Australia, Josh, hospice nurse that took care of patients when they were about to die. And she asked him a question. And the question was, do you have any regrets? Wrote a book about it. It's a national bestseller, something like The 5 Regrets of Dying or something like that. The number one regret was not living the life I could have lived, living someone else's life, not doing what I know I'm capable of. Fear that. Don't fear, getting your butt handed to you on a failure. because as long as you don't make that vehicle, whatever it is, if it's real estate, if it's something else, if you don't make that vehicle your identity, you're okay. If you make it your identity, people jump off buildings when they lose that vehicle, or shoot themselves or whatever. And you saw that in 2008 and in the Great Depression, people ended their lives because they made it their identity. But, if you're going to go do something, have it be your vehicle. And, there's incredible opportunity right now in what I do, because there's a ton of multifamily in trouble because operators got bad debt and, and the expense ratios have gone up. And then there's opportunity to buy businesses. There's 10,000 people a day turning 65 in this country every single day, 10,000. And a lot of them have businesses and they want to retire. And I'm getting into senior housing now as well. There's 10,000 people a day turning 80 in this country, and there's a huge need for senior housing. I've got 6 facilities under contract right now in Texas, screaming deal. So, there's a lot of opportunity. You just got to decide what your vehicle is going to be and go learn it as fast as you can to capitalize on what's coming. Because like these businesses that are going to be for sale, there's a lot of them haven't implemented social media. A lot of them haven't implemented AI. There's just, get excited. A lot of people are in fear right now with what's happening economically, but don't be in fear. Get excited. Warren Buffett's famous quote, be fearful when others are greedy. A lot of greed, especially in multifamily these last few years, but now it's fearful. And the flip side of that quote is be greedy when others are fearful. So now's the time to be greedy. Get in there, be a contrarian, kick ass, go learn this business and take advantage of the opportunities that are here.
Yeah, especially right now. You can actually buy for in-place NOI, in-place cash flow, versus past few years it was just buying based on performance of the property down the road.
Sure, and you can buy properties for less than the cost to build them, like these senior houses. I mean, multifamily is there. There was an asset, 300 unit asset right next door to a 200 that I own in San Antonio that sold for 43 million in late 21 or early 22. 43 million. Bank got it back, priced it at 28 million. I wasn't interested unless it hit 24 million. Somebody bought it somewhere between 28 and 24. It's right next door to the one I had. I was disappointed. I kind of wanted it, but I wasn't going to overpay. But that's what happened. 43 to 28 or or less. And that's out there right now. And these 6 assisted living facilities, I'm paying $40,000 a unit. You can't build one for less than $250,000 to $350,000 a unit. And these are nice buildings. And so, incredible. I mean, the numbers are great right now. Just push through the fear, go learn what it is you want to learn, and take advantage of what's out there.
Yeah, I'm underwriting. Everyone needs to underwrite based on what does this thing look like in 10 years, 15 years, 20 years. What does AI do to the workforce? And what does the workforce, what does that look like on for your rentals? So to me, Class A rentals that demand the $2,500, $3,000 a month rents, those are a lot made up of a lot of white collar jobs. What is your take on AI and how
it's so funny you asked me that? I literally just came out of an interview. I ran over here because I was using the studio for a live interview, so I couldn't switch over. Normally, I wouldn't have this backdrop and I'd be in my studio because I was too tight. But literally just asked that question of a PhD economist, okay? And he said it's hype. There's he gave an example how 80% of the workforce back in wherever it was were farmers. And everybody was worried when this fancy equipment came out that could do the work that these farmers were doing. And yes, there will be some temporary job loss, but we live in an abundant society, and those jobs they'll be replaced with something else. There'll be something else. And so I just asked him that exact same question, and that was his response. I'm not positive I agree, because I think AI is transformational. I'm in Miami and I see taxis are now driverless, and they can pull into my complicated parking lot where my condo is and then get around. It just blows my mind. And I see food being delivered by robots, and so, but I am an optimist, and and I do live from a place of abundance. So I do believe that things will stabilize and there will be opportunities for people if they're willing to work. But there's also that conversation around universal income, but who the hell wants that? That's like being on welfare, as far as I'm concerned. So
nobody with ambition wants that. It doesn't work out.
Right.
There's definitely going to be a shakeout period. I feel like there's going to be new things created. People can create their own destiny. It's just at the same time, there's going to be just
Well,
things
if
start coming
that's
out.
you, learn this freaking business. If you want
Yeah.
to do real estate, get your ass to my boot camp. I've got a virtual one coming up every 30 days. I don't sell anything there, and it's $25. So no excuses. You know, if you want to buy businesses, find somebody that teaches that. Go learn how to do that. You know, just don't bemoan or fear things that haven't even happened yet. You know, be proactive.
Yeah. Get in a room.
Yeah, be proactive. Figure out what you might like, and go kick ass, because the opportunities are extraordinary right now.
They are.
And so, you know, that's all I will tell you. And you know, it's easy to get caught up in fear. And so what is fear? F everything and run. That's what a lot of people think it is. And I like to think it's face everything and rise. It's definitely false evidence appearing real. Okay. Because what you're fearing is the emotion of fear rather than the actual fear itself. And I get caught up in it too. Everybody does. But, you know, a lot of people also have limiting beliefs. And when we're on the fear topic, and you know, like when I immigrated this country, I got thrown into school, didn't speak English, found out what bullies were for the first time, and you know, got beat up occasionally. Then my mom sent me to school in wooden shoes because I'm from Holland, and leather shorts the Germans wear for Oktoberfest. That was freaking crack cocaine for the bullies. So I got my ass kicked again. You know, I came up with this limiting belief I wasn't good enough. I used to ask myself, how can I show them I'm good enough? And a lot of people have these limiting beliefs, especially with everything going on right now. I'm not good enough. I'm not smart enough. Another one was mine. I'm not analytical enough. You know, I don't have enough time, money. Listen, there's a reason the acronym for belief systems is BS, because 99% of them are BS. Okay. But we believe they're real. And so, you know, if you're consciously aware of one of these, you know, I used to be afraid to raise my hand in a class of 10 kids because I didn't want to be rejected, you know, and now I speak in front of thousands and thousands of people a year, and typically in flip-flops, you know, because I brought it out in the daylight. I looked at this limiting belief with my adult rational mind and realized it's BS. And so, you know, if you have one of these, definitely do that if you're consciously aware of it.
Yeah, and like you mentioned, getting in boot camps, just get in the room and get around people that are doing the thing that you want to do, get that
Exactly.
energy, and that's the forward motion. You just need to get in the room and make sure you tell yourself you belong in the room. If you're in the room, you belong in the room, and just learn off others, hear how they talk, they speak, what they're doing, and more importantly, learn the lessons that they've already learned so you don't have to repeat them.
Get around
Uh,
people that think what you think is hard is easy,
yeah,
which is why my warrior coaching program is so extraordinarily successful. It's more about I'd love to think it's my extraordinary training. No, it's the group that you know, these people get around other people that are doing it, and you know, that rising tide lifts all ships. And so yeah, it's great. I love what you said about believing you belong there. I love that. I'm going to use that. I like that a lot. And because you get, you know, in my business, as you know, we get a lot of introverted analytical people that you know, and they're some of the most successful students that I have, but they also have to check off every freaking box before they make a move. And
yeah,
you know who you are, and I love you, but just remember, you know, if that's you, that you can drive all the way across the United States at night with your headlights only seeing about 50 feet in front of you, and you know you can make it. Other people have made it before you. You may have some obstacles. It's the same way with the multifamily or commercial real estate business that I teach, or really any business, but you got to take that first step and make that move. And so don't get caught up in analysis paralysis.
yep,
And sometimes you got to push yourself out of your comfort zone to meet other people. Now, some of the best partnerships I see, Josh, maybe you as well, is an analytical person with an outgoing person, you know, and so I've partnered with CPAs and finance, you know, degree people, and I'm obviously the mouthpiece because I love to talk and I love to communicate. But yeah.
no, absolutely. And I do have a couple questions. Some
Sure.
people in my community here.
Okay.
If you were to start all over today with a little bit of money, with the least amount of money that you'd have in your career, what you feel like that at that point in time, what would be your first 90 days? What would it look like?
Great question. Well, we've answered it a little bit. You want to get around people that are doing what it is you want to do. So you got to make a decision what vehicle you're going to go after. Educate yourself immediately. Go to YouTube University. If it's multifamily real estate, get your ass to my boot camp. So educate yourself immediately. Get around people that are doing this. Study it hard. You know, learn the nomenclature, learn the verbiage. Start having conversations with people about it. Become congruent, and you become congruent and confident, you can raise money. Okay. And if you become credible, is actually a better word. If you become congruent and knowledgeable and credible, you can raise money. And if you're able to do that, you're off to the races. I mean, if you can bring money to a deal, like in my Warrior coaching program, anybody will take you. I'll take you. Okay. And you can join the group, and that's the way this business works is you align with a team that's done it. And then you use the we word. We own 500 doors. We own 1,000 doors. Then you've got instant credibility with a broker or an investor, or even a seller. And so, that this business is a team sport. You're not going to do it yourself. So again, that's what I would do, is educate yourself, get around the right people, study hard, and you can absolutely get well on your way in 90 days. In fact, in my program, we have a 90-day action plan, and it's call brokers, practice with brokers out of where you want to buy, practice on brokers, and then you can speak to the brokers in the area you want to buy credibly, talk to, get that going, and underwrite deals, I feel like I'm doing a big sales pitch here, but with my boot camp, you get some underwriting software, find some underwriting software if you don't want to do it from me, but find some software and start practicing underwriting deals.
Yeah,
you
I
know,
think.
um, and start building relationships with people. With AI and social media right now, you can build a following like in your sleep. AI can write the content, it can post it on social media. We've implemented OpenClaw, like standalone machines, in a couple of my businesses, and it does 95% of the work that my social media guy used to do. He's just kind of massaging it now and watching it. So you can do the same thing. You can have it write content for you. And the key here is, if you're going to raise money, you want to educate people. It's education-based marketing. You don't need tens of thousands of followers like I have. You educate. You get a couple hundred people following you, and you're adding value to them consistently. That's the key word: consistent, and quality. Okay, if you throw crap out there, you're crap. You got to have quality content, and you be consistent. You do that, you have a couple hundred people, you'll be able to raise money. And because they trust you, and they you've added value to them. And before social media, hell, I've had people in my couch in my studio with thousands of units that did it all in Real Estate Investor Association meetings, meetup groups. But you live in the greatest time on earth right now to create reach. Take advantage of it. And right now, money is harder to find than the deals. Okay, raising the money is harder than finding the deals. The deals are there. So if you can get good at raising money, maybe you've got an infrastructure of something you worked at in the past, IT, medical, maybe you're a member of the Chamber of Commerce, and business owners, whatever it is. If you've got a Rolodex, that dates me. Rolodex used to be how you'd find phone numbers. If you got a Rolodex of people, that you can contact, you start telling them, hey, this is what I'm doing. Have an elevator pitch. Hey, yeah, I'm buying multifamily real estate. There's incredible opportunities right now because a lot of operators got in trouble. By the way, I'm always looking for partners if you know somebody. Boom, there's your pitch.
Yeah, I think competence creates confidence. So the more you know about a subject, the more
You
you're going
stole
to.
that from me. I've said that 1,000 times.
Probably, but you didn't say it, so I needed to slide it in there.
Yeah. You're absolutely right. Competence is the first thing. You become competent, then you're confident. Nobody's born confident, and that's exactly right. And that's what you do. So you study, put nose down, butt up, study like crazy, and you're off to the races. I mean, I've got students, I'm not exaggerating, that have participated in 3,000 units in 1 year. Okay, so it is possible, and I've got students that have retired from extremely high-paying W-2 jobs with families, with kids, with soccer, with church, and then their income from real estate eclipsed their income. But it's going to take some work. Yeah. But is it worth it? You better freaking believe it's worth it. If you want freedom, time freedom, money freedom, if you want that, then pick something and go kick ass with it. And so, yeah.
What is the biggest mistake you see new multifamily investors making in today's market?
Oh, yeah. See, there's so many. And luckily, out of this, I was just mentioning, my students, we know they own 305,000 units. We know it's a lot more than that. We've only lost one deal that I know of. And so, I teach them to be very conservative, raise funds for operating reserves, don't do the bad debt, all that stuff. But But there are lots of mistakes you can make, which is why I asked that at my boot camps. I have several panels at my boot camp to answer questions. And one of the questions I make them answer is talk about a seminar, talk about a time you got your ass kicked, talk about a time you made a mistake. And, there's all sorts of things. People ask me, should I start looking at deals first or start raising money? And my answer is yes. Okay, you're going to do both. You're going to be looking at deals, and you're going to be talking to investors to get soft commitments on money at the same time. Not raising enough money for a deal. Thinking you can cover the deal with operating with cash flow. You can make improvements from the cash flow. No, you raise the money for the improvements. Getting bad debt, huge mistake. Getting adjustable rate debt, that's killed a lot of people. I know people with jets and very sophisticated investors that have lost deals. Hell, Beardy Branded, you see him splashed all over everything, lost 15 million in investor funds. He's a very smart guy, beautiful guy. But, it's happening a lot. A lot of operators have lost a lot of money. And I think his was debt, if I recall. I don't remember. But, those are some big ones. Not paying attention, being aggressive with your underwriting, not being conservative. You got to stress test it. What's your break even? Where do you need to be? What happens if our occupancy dips? How are we going to survive? All these things that you need to do, and we teach. So yeah.
I totally agree. It's and then forecasting a future cap rate versus today's cap rate.
Oh yeah. You can play with the numbers and make anything look good. Which is, if you're listening, and even if you're going to invest passively, get your ass to my boot camp, so at least you know what you're looking at. So when you see a pro forma, you could ask questions about, hey, why is this cap rate on the exit so low?
And low cap rates are reserved for. I'm saying like in the 4s and 5s for coupon clipping returns. Those are reserved for very specific real estate deals that 1970s vintage don't qualify for a 4.9% exit cap. And I've seen that recently on an OM, and those are automatically out.
I saw a very well-known person who's got a class action thing going against him. I won't say his name, but you know it. I saw one of his pro formas, and he was projecting was it 10%? 10% rent increase every year for 5 years.
Crazy.
Come on. Yeah.
Yeah. And, a few years ago, it was a sold deal. It was sold to the investors, sold to anyone who had some cash. But
well, the water's going out. We see who's naked now. And I'm going to tell you, I'm not immune from it either. My ex-partner got me into some shitty deals. We're in litigation. But and I teach this stuff, okay? So no one's immune, but there is incredible opportunity right now, and I've never seen so much opportunity as there is right now. People say the greatest transfer of wealth of all time is happening right now because of these baby boomers retiring. They've impacted every aspect of society for decades. In the 40s, it was diapers, and then it became suburbia that grew because of the baby boomers. And, now there's going to be a senior housing crisis, but there's also a lot of businesses that these boomers want to sell. And
what kind of businesses are you attracted to? Which ones out there?
Well, I like service. I like service businesses, but the problem is, a lot of venture capital is already on that really hard. They like it as well. But there's lots of different things. So, when you look at a business, now I'm not buying businesses other than the senior housing right now, but when you look at a business, look at it from the angle of, have they embraced social media marketing? Have they implemented any AI yet? They probably haven't. Most people my age, I'm 66, can't even spell the word technology. And so, there's a lot of opportunity to bring that to all sorts of different types of businesses. So, yeah, I wouldn't be specific because I've seen some huge success with some very unusual businesses. So
makes sense. So AI can certainly take away all of the noisy tasks, get it done, no complaints, and that thing is done.
Right.
For someone who has, say, $50,000 to invest, what would you recommend they do? Just they've got cash in the bank right now.
I would recommend they educate themselves so they don't squander that 50 grand. Okay. Again, if you're going to invest in real estate, get your butt to my freaking boot camp. It's $25. The bonuses are insane. You get my software to evaluate deals, my documents, you get everything. And so, no excuse there if you're going to invest in real estate. But, if it's something else, for God's sakes, go learn it. I wouldn't invest in stocks unless you study them a little bit. Seriously, because a stockbroker's a salesperson. That's all they are. They're not an analyst or, super sophisticated. They're good at sales. So, have some basic understanding so you don't squander your hard-earned money. That's the worst thing in the world. You work your ass off to save some money and then you give it to somebody and lose it. And unfortunately, it's happening a lot right now and with some of these multifamily deals.
Yeah, and I think that's they haven't went out there and educated themselves to know where to deploy it at. So it's a confidence thing, but they know they want to create their retirement and start investing into real things.
Right. Well, we'll study it a little bit. That's my advice. For God's sakes, don't throw it at somebody. And then once you're ready to invest, if it's real estate, I've got a really good book on questions you should ask a general partner before you invest in a deal. It's in my link tree, rodslinks.com. In fact, that's where my boot camp site is as well, rods, plural, links.com. And there's a bunch of free books there. One of them is questions you should ask before you invest in a real estate deal, as well as a bunch of others. And so rodslinks.com is where my podcast is. And I'm blessed to say that I've got the largest really commercial real estate podcast really in the world at this point, which just blows my mind. So maybe you might enjoy listening to me drone on and on as well.
Absolutely. What is one habit or routine that has had the biggest impact on your success?
Definitely health. Definitely health. You've got to have energy to create a side hustle, to do this business on the side with the kids, with the family, with the W-2. If you don't have that energy, you're not going to get it done. So health is the number one thing for sure. I mean, if you saw my exercise room here, my compound, it'd blow your mind. I mean, I do peptides. I take more vitamins than any human I know. And I exercise a lot. So that's the number one thing.
Are you an early riser?
No, I'm not. No, absolutely not.
You don't have to be.
Some people love to be. It's not me, but I work hard. I'm very focused. Planning is super important as well. I plan my days and sometimes plan my weeks, and I teach that, by the way. At Rod's Links, if you do my goal setting workshop is there, and I'll tell you, that's the number one thing you can do is be very, very clear on what you want and why you want it. It's at Rod's Links at the bottom of my goal setting workshop. There's a guide you can download. People spend more time planning a freaking birthday party than they do designing their lives. Doing your goals is designing your life. Go there. I'm not going to try to sell you anything. Go do your goals. And then where was I going with that? There was somewhere I was going to go with that. Yeah, I lost my
daily routine, getting it out there and get the hustle on.
That's it. You got to create that hunger, that burning desire. You got to want it. That's how you're going to push through fear and take action. That's why my students are so freaking successful, because I'm spending so much time on mindset that they actually do it. And in my boot camp, the first thing we do is goal setting on steroids. Again, how do you get anything if you don't know what it is? You got to know what it is you want.
Yeah, get clarity.
So that's the first thing we do. But if you don't want to do the boot camp, go to Rod's Links and just do it there. Have your spouse do it. Have your kids, if they're over 10 years old, do it. For God's sakes, design your life. You'll leave so motivated, you'll be coming out of your skin. I know why I brought it up, because at the end of that goal setting, I do a weekly planning process that I teach. That's very, very powerful. It's like the last 10 minutes of that link in my link tree, and you'll get a ton of value from that as well. It's how I manage two very large companies at the same time.
All right, and then the last question: if you could leave our listeners with one lesson you've learned through your success and failure, what would it be?
One lesson: don't wait. You think you have time.
Yeah, that is true. That is 100%. Get out there and do it, and you're going to find out. And if you're directly involved and you're in control of the situation, you're in control of the outcome, you've got your heart, effort, and energy into it, success is the only option.
That's it. There's no escape. You just do it. Just like Nike says, just freaking do it. You can do anything you want. You just got to set your mind to it, get clear on it, and go take massive freaking action. So,
all right. And Rod, one more time, if a listener wants to get a hold of you, learn more about you,
Yeah,
possibly
Rod's
invest
links.
alongside of you.
Rod's links has everything. It's got my social media. It's got my podcast. It's got my boot camp site. Like I said, it's $25. I don't sell anything. It's 2 days of training. Nothing being sold for $25. And you get my 15 module wholesaling course, multifamily wholesaling, my Courage and Confidence course, my Finding Deals course, my Deal Evaluator software, my document library, my #1 best-selling book, all of it. You get all of it for $25. Hell, just go do it to get that stuff, because that's like $6,000 worth of stuff. Just one of those courses alone is $2,500 on my website. I've discovered that the people that add the most value are the most successful. So that's what I try to do, and it serves me. But yeah, Rod's Links is the place, Josh.
Awesome, Rod. Definitely appreciate your insights today. Look forward